Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman Beyond Shriek Unmasked. This is a variant of the Shriek figure. This is the regular release that will be available at all retailers. The version with the mask on, which is the preferred version, is a Target exclusive, and that's going to be part of the Build-A-Figure Joker Batman robot from Future's Endwave. I got this guy because his mask is off, and he's not a character you'd expect them to make an unmasked version of, but I'm excited to pop this head off and see if I can make Walter Shreeve in civilian form. So let's take a look at the packaging here. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts. McFarlane Toys, got the Spawn logo there, ages 12+, DC Multiverse, Shriek Unmasked. One side of the package says Shriek Unmasked from Batman Beyond, other side simply says Shriek Unmasked. The bottom, there's a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode in case that helps anybody. And on the back side, here's a picture of the figure posed up, and here are a bunch of other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures you should check out. So with no further ado, let's open them up. And I did get 3 of these figures, one of which to open and enjoy, one to keep unopened in my complete Batman-related 6 and 7 inch action figure collection, and then one to pop the head off and make Walter Shreeve in civilian attire. And here he is, next to the standard Build-A-Figure Target exclusive Shriek with a mask on. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He does come with a display stand, a collector's card, and then 2 sort of sound vibration action effects. But before we take a look at the accessories, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Shriek from Batman Beyond. His real name is Walter Shreeve. This is the unmasked version. This is the one that all the retailers are going to be able to have. I think that's sort of ass backwards. This should have been the exclusive version. The exclusive one is only available at Target and is part of the Build-A-Figure wave. That one has the mask on, and that is the preferred version for most fans. I'm really fond of the Shriek figure. I think he came out very nicely. The only difference here is the head. But first of all, his armor looks fantastic. The white, the black, the transparent blue, it all really pops and looks good. Sculpted very nicely. Those big old sort of paws, just like in the show. The real question here is the unmasked head. Is it any good? And I'll tell you, I think it looks great. That little bit of a beard there, the hairline, the facial structure, they did a great job capturing the likeness, and it looks just very nice. 2 thumbs up, McFarlane. And here are both the Shriek figures with all their accessories laid out. Now let's take a look at his accessories, and let's start with the boring stuff. First of all, he comes with his display stand, typical McFarlane stand, black perfect circle, says DC at the bottom, 1 peg for the peg holes on his feet, very thin, very basic. Now for his collector's card. This is an image of the figure. You can see Shriek Unmasked from Batman Beyond. On the back, there is a little description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. And here's this collector's card, next to the collector's card that came with the masked version of Shriek. Now let's look at his sound blast effects. You can tell they're not the same because the circle in the middle is a little bit further from the holes. It's made of a sort of semi-transparent material. It's kind of bendable. The 2 effects that come with this guy are more circular. The one that came with the Target exclusive version, that's the one in the middle. They are different. Here's Shriek holding one of the effects, then using them both. And here's a sound effect that came with the standard version of Shriek. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to top of his head, he's sitting at about 7.3 inches tall, which can translate to about 18.5 centimeters. Now let's look at his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. It can look up and down about that far. Very impressive. Can tilt from one side to the other. Give him a good amount of personality. Shoulders on a ball joint. Shoulder pads go over the shoulder very nicely. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He does have a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area, increase the range of motion. He's got a bicep cut, a little bit limited from the shoulder pads. Double jointed elbows, can really go into a little bit more 90 degrees. Then his wrist here, it can rotate around, also sort of hinged, pretty nice there. He's got ball joint in his torso, hidden very nicely under his armor, rotate around, go forward and back. Another ball joint in his waist, rotate around, go forward and back. Legs, pretty much does the splits, not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation, not too bad. Forward, about that much. Back, not at all. Double jointed knees below that. Then his ankle here goes forward and back, can rotate, can tilt and rock, and he has toe articulation. Now I wanted to look at the differences between the Unmasked Shriek and the standard masked version of Shriek, and there are absolutely zero differences besides just a different head being put on there. If I had to pick only having one of the two, I would totally get the standard version of Shriek with the mask on, but it's nice to have this extra variant. Which one do you guys prefer? I can only imagine if you had to pick one, everybody would pick the masked version, but they did a pretty good job with him. I just find it a very odd character to even bother making an unmasked version of. Okay, so now you're telling yourself, alright, D Hunter, I know why you got the masked Shriek. I even know why you got the unmasked Shriek. It's a variant that didn't interest me, but you're getting every figure for this line. I get it. But why did you get two of the unmasked Shrieks to open? Well, the answer is this. I'm going to make Walter Shreeve in a civilian attire, just like when he worked for Blight in the Batman Beyond episode. So, let's go ahead and pop this guy's head off. Went ahead and got a cup of boiling water, dipped the figure into it, pulled the head off. As you can see here, the peg actually came off with the head, which is fine. If I need to, I can just heave the peg and pull the peg right back out. Head looks good, ready to go. Now, we need a body. And while we're on the subject of pulling off heads, you can pull off the head off the masked Shriek, and you can have the unmasked Shriek holding it as if he just took his helmet off. So I had this idea in my head. This NECA figure from the film I believe called Divergent would be good for a civilian Walter Shreeve. Now maybe my idea is a little premature. He's in all black, a slightly futuristic looking outfit, kind of sci-fi-ish. In the cartoon, Walter Shreeve was dressed in all black before he put on his sound suit. This guy's also 7-inch scale, so I thought it would work good with McFarlane figures. Now he's a little bit on the smaller side of things next to the Shriek figure. Of course, Walter Shreeve would be a little smaller when he's out of his armored suit, but seems to be a little bit of too big of a difference here. So I heated up this Divergent figure and popped his head off. I did forget this guy has some tattoos coming off the back of his neck, so if this works out, I'm going to have to repaint the body, which is not a problem, as their skin tones do not match at all anyway. This head did come out with the peg attached as well, so that should work out just fine. Now these guys are pretty much all cooled off, I'm going to have to heat both these bodies back up to soften the neck area, and then put the peg with the head back inside. So I took the guy's head from Divergent, threw it onto the other Shriek body, the one I took the head off. I really have nothing extra to do with this Shriek body, so it's going to go into my fodder pile. I'll leave this head on it for now. This could always be a different guy in the Shriek sound suit. Who knows? I only remember the first episode of Shriek. I don't think anybody else wore the suit later. At least not that I remember. I'll go check it out. And then, that'll leave us with the unmasked Walter Shreeve in a civilian attire. He's in the black suit here. Now I'll tell you, my initial thoughts when looking at him. Obviously, number one, the flesh tone is completely different. Walter Shreeve's head is way lighter in the body, but that can be easily rectified. Number two, the head seems a little too big for the body. Not by too much, but just a little bit oversized at large. It's not so bad when you see him by himself, but when you put him next to the unmasked Shriek, it's a lot more noticeable. And then let's look at the height difference. So like I said before, he should be a little bit smaller out of his armor, but it's a little bit too small next to this guy. I don't really have a better body at the moment, so for now I'm going to go with this. But those are some of my initial sort of nitpicks. And that puts me with these four figures. We've got the standard Shriek with the mask on, the unmasked Shriek, then we got Walter Shreeve in his regular outfit, and then some random fodder, random guy in a Shriek sound suit. But these three figures was the whole purpose of this. This is exactly what I wanted to get for the McFarlane collection. The masked Shriek, Maskless Shriek, and Walter Shreeve in civilian attire. Now this is definitely not the first time I've used this body for a custom figure. We've got both Walter and David from Alien Covenant Prometheus, then we've got Walter Shreeve, and then still one of the figure as is. And one final shot of my entire McFarlane DC Multiverse Shriek collection. Who would have thought this guy would get so much love? Here's Shriek in his lab, putting on his armor for a new assignment. Here's Shriek being contracted to level this building. And then, of course, Terry McGinnis comes to intervene, ends up engaging Shriek in combat. But, this being Shriek's video, I'm gonna have him win. He's gonna have to beat Terry McGinnis. I'm just kidding. Terry McGinnis throws a batarang at Shriek, knocking his helmet off. And once Terry gets the upper hand, he's easily able to subdue Shriek. Now let's check him out, next to some other action figures, starting off with some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the standard version of Shriek. Then, next to both different versions of Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond. So far, here's the entire Batman Beyond collection for McFarlane. We've got Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond, and then Shriek. The next release is going to be Batwoman Beyond, and I believe she's going to have a blue variant as well. And then we're going to have Blight, and my fingers are crossed, we're going to have a business suit variant for him, but my expectations are kind of low for that. Here he is, next to all the other Bat Rogues McFarlane has given us so far. We have Deathstroke, Bane, Shriek, Polka Dot Man, Scarecrow, Harley Quinn, and Joker. Sure, McFarlane hasn't given us a Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Penguin, or Black Mask, or any of those type guys, but they have given us Shriek and Polka Dot Man. ... Then, next to the unmasked versions of Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman and Bruce Wayne Ben Affleck Justice League Batman, I love getting these unmasked characters and turning them into their civilian counterparts. I can't wait to get the unmasked Jason Todd, unmasked Peacemaker, and unmasked Bloodsport. Now let's check them out, next to some other Batman Beyond figures. Here are these new Shriek McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, next to an old custom Shriek I have. And here he is, next to a custom Spellbinder figure. Then, next to a custom Kirari. And here he is, next to some of the Joker's gang members from Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. Then, next to a custom Terry McGinnis and Max Gibson. And here, with a DC Direct, Old Man Bruce Wayne and Ace the Bat Hound. Then, next to all the different 6 and 7 inch Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond figures I have in my collection. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane figure, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect and work my way smaller. Here he is with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, with some more McFarlane toys, these are from different various video game properties. And now, next to some Jakks Pacific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here he is, next to some NECA figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods action figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here, next to some Maplex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. Overall, he's a pretty cool figure, but he's nowhere near as cool as the standard version of Shriek with the mask on. The original Shriek, I'd say, was easily an 8 out of 10. This guy here, probably a 6.5 out of 10, as he's a lot less desirable than the other Shriek. I am personally pretty excited to get this guy. I love the unmasked figure. I love having a Walter Shreeve in my collection now. Sure, McFarlane could have very easily just included the alternate head with the figure. But I do like these variants. They at least make some sort of sense. This guy's articulation is pretty good. I like how his wrists can rotate. Do wish his wrist could go back just a little further. His accessories are really cool, those sound blast effects. Paint job and sculpt are excellent, no issues there. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.